Hey there, awesome folks. This is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally. First, I want to apologize for my tardiness. Was running into some technical issues and I wanted to make sure things were up and running and ready to go for you guys tonight. We are going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, of course. That is overemployment and if it is something that we can still continue to do in 2025. But before we jump into that, go ahead and get in here, share the live with your friends, and we are going to jump right in. Just give you a little chance to get in here. Okay? Stay tuned. Beautiful people, this is Mentor Shelley wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally. Guys, I am here. Welcome to 2025. Happy New Year to all of you. Of course, as you're coming into the live, go ahead and drop a like, say hello, share this with people that are very, very interested in overemployment still. Although there are a lot of indications that some of these employers are not having it. They're pushing against the grain. There's return to work mandates all over the place. You name it, it's going on in the job market. So we are here to discuss that in a little bit more detail tonight. Of course, as you're coming in, say hello. See how you guys are you doing. I want to make sure that you guys have a good assessment of what is going on in 2025 versus what has gone on in previous years, especially during the pandemic. The pandemic overemployment was way more viable, especially for those that are in the IT sector. It is still viable for a lot of employees that have jobs or are in the IT sector and other sectors where a lot of your duties can be done remotely. But we are going to jump into a few here. I want you guys to keep this in mind. I am always pro enriching your personal economy. Let's get that straight off rip. Okay? However, I want you to understand the perspective of the employer and, of course, the misconstrued guidance that all employees are staying home and kicking their feet up and not doing any work. Because I will tell you from personal experience, I've talked about this on the channel before, where when I was doing overemployment, I actually did more work than less being at home or being remote versus going into the office. So, a lot of the misconceptions by a lot of employers may make the assumption that the opposite is true. But we are going to touch on that in just a few moments. All right. So, let's jump into the first resource here that we want to talk about this. Okay. The first article here is Sounds Like Mutiny. It's written by Allie Foster at Allie Foster at this is actually coming from Australian news, but it's happening all over the world. The autonomy of the employee and the control that employers loved seems to be rekindling a fire, so to speak. So the article title sounds like a mutiny. Big reasons work from home still hasn't been scrapped in Australia. So it's not just happening in the US. There's been growing concerns about what the future holds for work from home as we head into the new year. Amazon, Dell, Tabcorp, Flight Center were just some of the major companies in 2024 that announced new return to work office mandates. Let's see here. Hybrid and remote workers have had tumultuous years with growing fears that more businesses will follow suit and force the staff back to the office in 2025. But there are those that believe the future of working from home in Australia and in the US, which we'll touch on later on, may not be as dire as it seems. Natasha Hawkins, the managing director of HR and recruiting company Employee Matters, believes a significant amount of employers will be reluctant to scrap flexible work benefits for fear of how staff will react. Appearing on Sunrise, she said that there are enormous benefits that comes with working from home, which employees have now come to expect. What we have done by allowing our employees to be, because of COVID, to work from home, it is very difficult to put that genie back in the bottle. Those employees really want that, she said. When we recruit our clients, we have candidates that will not go to an interview unless they have seen the work from home policy that says they can work from home. And I do not disagree. There's some of us that are career focused, that have more experience, that can go ahead and ask for those type of provisions. There's nothing wrong with that. At the peak of 2021, around 40% of employed Australians are regularly working from home, according to Australian Bureau of Statistics. The latest figures in August 2024 show that number has dropped, but not by much. And it's now sitting at 36%. And even before the COVID pandemic, which drastically increased remote work rates, the percentage of people working from home regularly has steadily increased year on year. That may actually be, I just want to touch on letting you guys know, it is not only Australia that is having this going on, but it is also, it's not only the US that is having this overemployment and working from home debate. It is also happening in other places. I want to touch on another one, but as you are coming in, I want you guys to understand this. This work from home debate is far from over. And I want to give you guys a little bit more of a different type of perspective, because of course the employers are like, they're not doing any work, or this is the assumption that they're running off of, and that they need to pull back the rein in the nonsense, so to speak. That's the assumption out there from a lot of employers. So let's see here. So Forbes has a article that I also wanted to review as well, to make sure that you guys understand. This is not a one size fits all situation. There are a lot of employers that unfortunately are too in love with control to understand what's going to be the biggest benefit, not only for their organization, but for their employees as well. This article from Forbes is from Return to Work Mandates Will Backfire, and the senior contributor that wrote this was William Arruda. This was written literally a day or two ago, or today, or updated today. It seems that 2025 will be the year when a growing number of companies enforce RTO policies. Yet, despite the hopes for a more collaborative, productive, and engaging workforce, these mandates may not have had the intended effect. Not when they're saying, come to work, come into the office, or you can get fired. And the employers aren't trying to communicate that collaborative nature of what the employees expected. Many organizations are proposing in-office work 3 days a week, while others are taking a more draconian approach, requiring employees to be in the office full-time. These new rules are prompting employees to rethink what's important to them and where they ultimately want to work. Amazon, which we have talked about in ad nauseum on this YouTube channel, with over 1.5 million employees worldwide, has opted for a complete RTO policy requiring employees to be in the office 5 days a week. JP Morgan Chase chairman and CEO Jamie Dimon has been one of the more vocal advocates for this return to office, because he's involved. He's more in love with control approach, both within his company and more broadly. But the full RTO model is unlikely to work for several reasons. One, collaboration may still take place online. Of course. For many RTO, it will mean commuting to the office closest to wherever they live, which may not be where their teammates or stakeholders are located. Companies have been hiring for talent, not location, during COVID-19. Workers moved to places where they felt safer and happy and probably more affordable. Today, teams are rarely fully co-located, which means collaboration will likely to continue or happen over platforms like Slack and Zoom rather than in a conference room, which the work can still get done. Helping employees improve their skills in leading online meetings, delivering virtual presentations, and collaborating via online platforms may be a better investment than requiring employees to be on site. Oh my goodness. Oh, what a thrill. What a concept. Productivity will decrease. According to Avery Morgan, the chief HRO officer for UD Birdie, RTO mandates could crush productivity. You sure could. RTO mandates may seem beneficial for junior workers who need more structure and oversight, but if you believe that the performance of a middle and senior manager depends on their physical presence, you've hired the wrong people. Correct. Morgan explained, standard open plan office configurations can make employees less productive. Morgan added, constant noise, impromptu meetings, and frequent interruptions make deep focus nearly impossible. And depending on what you're doing or what the nature of your job is, that is definitely counterproductive, especially for roles requiring creative and analytical work. Remote environments tailored to individual needs eliminate distractions and unlock employees' potential. Now, see, that is an HR person that I like. This person is talking like they make some sense, because a lot of these people are just toting what the owners want. And she's being, objective in this. Talent will flee rather than return to the office. Companies enforcing strict return to work policy driven by money, Amazon, risk losing top talent to competitors offering more flexible hybrid or work remote arrangements. 73% of Amazon workers are reportedly considered quitting following the 5-day in-office mandate. Although Amazon denies this, many believe their RTO policies being implemented in place of a layoff to avoid paying severance. That's not a stretch. Flexibility has become a key driver of job satisfaction and a top demand for job seekers. In a talent-driven employment market, these policies could make keeping the best talent become a challenge. Morgan noted, caregivers, neurodivergent employees, and top performers with options won't tolerate rigid policies that ignore their needs. Now there's a concept. Listen, at the end of the day, there are going to be employers that are going to do what they think is best for their bottom line. Nothing, and I mean nothing, can stop an employer if they decide that their bottom line and what they want is more important than what the employee's wants and needs are. Even if their productivity is more when the employees work remotely, there are some employers that are standing 10 toes down. I want you in the office because I can't manage you unless you're physically here. That says more about their management style and the fact that they're not willing to learn a new way of managing their staff than it says about the employees that they're forcing to return to the office. That's just my take on it. Listen, at the end of the day, productivity and results are what matters the most as far as this entire conversation is concerned. Let me see. There is another one I wanted to look at before we go. Let's see here. Okay, now this is from Computer World. I have just one more, and then we're going to go into just some of the things you want to look into if you're deciding to go against the grain. If you're currently working from home and you're doing overemployment, In order for you to be successful at overemployment, you do have to have two work from home positions, and we're going to get into that as well. From Computer World, this was written back in December. 2025 will be a bad year for remote work. This is another perspective. Work from home movement is under threat despite the measurable benefits. Here's what's coming. Mr. Musk going Washington, and he's planning to roll back remote work in the federal government. That's true. Tech entrepreneur Elon Musk and a one-time presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy are expected to be appointed by incoming President DJ Trump to run an advisory commission called the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Trump wanted Musk to do the federal bureaucracy, what he did, wanted to do the federal bureaucracy like what he did to Twitter, dramatically reducing the number of employees. Typical. After Musk bought Twitter, in addition to changing its name to X, killing verification, enabling revenue sharing, increasing the character limits of posts, and other changes, he laid off 80% of the staff and issued an edict banning remote work. The first step is nearly impossible mission of radically downsizing government while using agencies and their employees to govern the nation. CBS Daily Report newsman Dickerson likened it to dismantling an airplane while flying it. Is to implement a draconian mandate to work in offices rather than home. Interesting. The expectation is that the in-office mandate will inspire thousands of employees to quit. That's really what they want. Reducing the numbers of employees who will be laid off. Hey, if it worked for Twitter, it should work for history's biggest budget and most complex organization. We'll see in a few, because that's supposed to be kicking off fairly soon. A policy ending remote work mandate by Musk, who might as well be ineligible for such a role, given that his task will be to advise on downsizing or eliminating agencies charged with regulating or even currently investigating Musk-owned or Musk-run companies, contradicts findings by the government itself. Oh gosh, conflict of interest is flying everywhere in this situation. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics found that remote work increased productivity across 61 private sectors. Oh, finally, somebody telling the truth. Across 61 private business sectors. Even more intuitively, non-labor costs like office space decreased more in the industries with more remote work. Workers benefited from not commuting, which saved them time and money. And then that time and money gets put into the corporations they're working for because they have more time freedom to put into the job. They're literally saving their nose to spite their face. Okay. The Government Accountability Office, GAO, found in a study that telework in the U.S. businesses improved employee productivity and morale and helped companies hire and retain employees, something the DOGE is not interested in, clearly. The GAO acknowledged that long-term effects are unknown. You see the state of Twitter losing followers. X losing followers. That should give you a clue. In short, the government found that remote work is more efficient. The Department of Government Efficiency's first order of business will be to make government less efficient. Ugh. Why don't we just make something easy complicated? Sounds like their method to me. The most efficient, cost-effective policy would be to lay off whomever you're going to call, but mandate remote work for the remaining employees. According to the GAO, government employees in the executive branch, more than 4 million people, including military personnel, often work from home. That practice varies by department, ranging from 11% of the total hours worked at a farm service agency to around 66% of Veteran Benefits Administration. One impact of a new government mandate to work in offices beyond the expected employee downsizing will be more employees on the market looking for work, which could affect hiring, sales, corporate remote work policies in the private sector. Changes in attitude, but fewer changes in latitude. Meanwhile, there have been an enormous shift in attitudes among business leaders about remote work in recent months, and by extension, all its variants of flex work, digital nomad living, workstations, and leisurely travel. According to the KPMG of 2024 CEO Outlook report, which surveys more than 1,300 CEOs globally, including 400 in the United States, the pendulum has swung decisively against CEOs supporting remote work. Isn't it interesting how when remote work was helping their bottom line during COVID and people were not coming into the offices, they were happy that people could still do the work. But now that they feel that there's less control and employees have more autonomy, although they're getting better results from people working remotely, now it's a problem. Interesting. Anyway, let's go back. According to 34% of the CEOs favored an in-office model earlier this year. Now 79% do, which is a massive change. It went from 34 to 79. CEOs are increasingly willing to offer incentives to encourage employees to return to the office. A majority, 86% of CEOs said that they would reward employees who try to come into the office with benefits such as favorable assignments, raises, and promotions. Why CEOs like back in the office mandates? Part of it, before I even read the rest of this, they don't know how to manage remote teams. Let me put my face in the camera and tell you, they don't know how to manage remote teams. And instead of learning, they'd rather put everybody else through the crapper. Sorry. Yeah, I said the quiet part out loud. Y'all don't want to learn no more skills because God forbid you expand your leadership skills. Whew. Too much to ask. Okay. CEOs like Musk, Ramaswamy, and for that matter, Trump, typically favor remote work for themselves, but oppose it for their employees. Their leaders have both good reason and bad for opposing remote work. Among the good reasons, they believe that in-person collaboration generates more and better ideas for remote collaboration. False. While this may be true, it reveals a bias in favor of collaboration and against deep work, long, quiet, uninterrupted, and focused solidarity work. Different companies, professions, departments, and industries benefit in various ways from collaboration and deep work. They're both valuable. Office work best enables the former, and remote work the latter, of course. But deep work is more monetarily valuable kind of work. According to Cal Report, the author of Deep Work Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. CEOs also point out that physical proximity is better for mentoring, innovation, and maintaining company culture. All of that can be done over the web. So a lot of this nonsense is really nauseating, to be understandable. Is an understatement. On the flip side, CEOs don't trust their employees to work hard at home, but they want to work from home. And the fear they're watching daytime TV in their pajamas while on the clock. That's usually not the case. Their Intuit office presence and supervision of the employees who appear to be working as a metric of productivity. There's a lot of people that know how to fake it in the office. Lord. They can feel personally more comfortable. It's a personal comfort thing. It's not a productivity thing. As you heard earlier, the stats say otherwise, that remote workers work more and they have better results, but I digress. They can feel personally comfortable when they can walk around, interact with employees, and manage and supervise in person. Some CEOs also feel the need to justify their spending. There it is. Ding, ding, ding. Some CEOs feel the need to justify their spending on office space, office equipment, and other costs associated with office work. Whatever the reasons, there is generally a disagreement between employees who mostly want the option to work from home and CEOs who mostly want to require employees to come in to work. A prediction. The remote work revolution will take a serious hit this year. Yeah, it has already, because 6.2, is it 6.2 billion reasons why Amazon is definitely going with their return to work office policy, because they got those government subsidies coming their way. They're not going to change it. A remote work revolution will take a serious hit next year, both in government and in business. Then, with new generations of workers and leaders gradually rising in the workforce in the coming decade, plus remote work enabling technology like AI, specifically agentic AI and augmented reality growing in capability, remote work will make a slow and inevitable permanent comeback. In the meantime, 2025 will be a rough year for remote workers, but it can also represent a huge opportunities for startups and even established companies to hire their very best employees who are turned away elsewhere because they insist on working remotely. This was a contributing columnist, Michael Eglin from Computer World. My assessment of all of this, they are a lot of these, as I said while I was going through this, a lot of these CEOs do not understand or do not want to learn how to manage your teams remotely. And he who has the goal make the rules, so they're making the rules to benefit them. One of the things that I want you guys to answer and really evaluate here: who does return to work mandates benefit more, employees or employers? I'm going to dare jump out on a limb and say employers, because they do not have to learn a new way to manage your employees, one. Number two, in their perception, not reality, in their perception, they think that because they can see the employee and they can put their bodies in seats, they can see what's going on faster than if that employee is working remote. The misconceptions of all of that, because statistics have shown in the article I just read in Computer World, communicates the fact that you can actually get more work done if you work remotely. And people are more productive when they work in remote environments. But let's keep going. All right. Do you have, let me make sure I ask this question here. So it benefits the employers more for people to return to work, and they're getting some of those companies are getting subsidies, Amazon being one of them. Now, next question. Do you have other economically viable options to rely on if you plan on quitting? If any of you that are watching this at another time, or you're watching now live and you don't want to say hello, which is fine. Do you have other economically viable options to rely on if you plan on quitting because of the work to return to work mandate? Do you have a side business? Do you have another job lined up? If you are one of the Amazon employers or one of the other employees where the return to work mandate is being pushed either now or in the next coming weeks, do you have other options? If you do not have other options, I suggest you start looking into one. And if you do not have your resume and your career tools ready and things of that nature, please make sure you do that. And if you need help with that stuff, you can go to mentorshelley.com/consultation, which you see right here at the bottom of the screen, bottom left-hand corner of the screen. I can definitely help you with those type of things to make sure you are ready, and you're ready and able to get out there and find a better option, because not all employers are subscribed to this, but there are some, there are a growing number of CEOs, as you clearly hear from some of these articles, that are team return to work or team return to the office. Okay. Let's see here. I do have another question in regards to overemployment directly. Now, let's see here. As the overemployment trend, right? As the overemployment trend faces increasing scrutiny, because it is going through a lot of scrutiny in 2025, What steps can you take to ensure your career stays legally compliant and financially rewarding in this evolving remote work era? Listen, it is always best. Do not forget the tips I've given in previous videos when it comes to overemployment. You have to make sure your employment contracts are solid. You have to have an ironclad schedule. You have to make sure that if you're still in two remote jobs, that they're no if they, you don't have meetings that overlap, and you have your timetables and your schedule together. Nothing that is this comprehensive, that is putting putting two salaries in your pocket, is going to be easy to maneuver. But you have to be organized and you have to be determined, because you're not going to do it forever. You're going to do it until you've meet your financial goals and enriched your personal economy in the way you so choose. Um, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that if you are facing any return to work mandates, you're going to have to buckle up and get ready to make some moves, start your businesses, whatever other economically viable options you have, exercise them, because the employers are wanting to clamp down on a lot of this overemployment. So you have to be ready to counteract it and be able to stand on your own, or be able to make moves once you are prepared to do so. Okay. And one last point I wanted to bring forth. All right. Let's see here. Okay, there are some employers that are still willing to do hybrid models, right? There's some still willing to do that. So, with hybrid models and advanced collaboration tools dominating the workplace, are you prepared to adapt your skills and career goals to align with these expectations? You have to understand, a lot of the remote work or the remote options that are still available out there, they're sneakily trying to say you shouldn't have more than one job, and they will have trying to have software in place to try to keep track of what you're doing, or they will do their best if you don't have separate computers doing the work. They also have keystroke measurements, all kind of nonsense. But if you're determined and you have your stuff together and you have your timetable in place, there's nothing wrong with being overemployed. As I said, you have to be organized. I'm going to link the other video in the steps to take to make sure that if you are going to still be overemployed in 2025, you have to have your proverbial stuff together and make sure you're not working for competing parties. At the end of the day, guys, overemployment is still viable, but it's much more difficult than it was 2-3 years ago. You have to make sure you can still utilize those same rules. Make sure your schedule is on point. Make sure your duties and assignments are being done timely. Do some check-ins with the people you're reporting to. And at the end of the day, if they don't have an issue with you working from home, or if they don't have an issue with you being overemployed, then fine. But you want to make sure that you're not breaking any employment laws either, so they don't have a reason to terminate if you do. And of course, guys, if you're looking for help in this area and you want to work with me directly, you can go to mentorshelley.com/consultations. We'll go through a concrete plan specifically for you when it comes to working remote and doing overemployment, and some of the tips and tricks, and a particular concrete plan as far as what it is that you'll be involved with, either on one job or another, and you're doing both of them remotely. If you have questions, or you're also needing help with any kind of interview coaching or salary and negotiation coaching, you can also hit that link and be able to schedule a consultation with me as well. All right, folks. Of course, this is Mentor Shelley. I'm always here to help you to become a better professional. And as you know, I don't know if you guys know this, if you've never been here before, or this is your first time, I am on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And I would love for you to share this with anybody you know that would find this information helpful in regards to remote work and in regards to overemployment. I will be talking more about, we have some upcoming events, online events coming up for Gen Zers, especially in this coming quarter and the next. So we know that we'll be looking out for the next generation of professionals so they can become a better professional long before. I wish I had me back in the day when I was starting in my career. I'd probably be in superstardom as far as my career goals are concerned, but everything happens for a wide purpose. So I want to make sure that the expertise that I've learned that I can help you not get baptized by fire in your career. And of course, this is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better professional. As you're exiting, go ahead and like the video, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as you are heading out tonight. You guys have a good one. Bye. Over and out.